Welcome to Yoga with Ash, and welcome to your 20-minute shoulders and hips yoga class. Let's get started. Starting off in child's pose, bringing the hips to rest on the feet, bringing the upper body down to the mat, resting the forehead on the mat, bringing the arms and the hands out in front. If this is too intense for the hips or the back, you can rest the head in the palm of the hands. Letting it all go here in child's pose. Whichever variation you're in, allowing the chest to sink down towards the mat. Child's pose lengthens the back, brings space into the vertebrae, helping to relax the spine and the back. Bringing some movement into child's pose, bringing the arms over to the left side of your mat, getting a nice stretch through that right side body. Coming back to the center of your mat. And bringing the arms over to the right of the mat, stretching out through that left side body. And bringing it back to center. Coming up now into a tabletop position on your hands and your knees, coming into cat stretch. So as you inhale, drop the belly, tilt the tailbone up, and bring your gaze up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, arch the back, tuck the tailbone under, and tuck the chin under. Continuing this with your own breath. Inhaling, lowering the belly, tilting the head up, and as you exhale, arching the back. Cat stretch is really great for bringing flexibility to the back, the neck, and the shoulders. Completing a few more rounds with your own breath. Continuing to drop the belly, looking up as you inhale, and arching the back, looking under the body as you exhale. And on your next inhale, coming back to center, to a neutral spine. Moving now into cow's face pose. If you have a strap, this may be a good opportunity to use it. Pulling the flesh out from the sits bone so that you can sit nice and grounded on your mat. Bringing the right leg over the left so that the knees are almost on top of one another. Bringing the right arm up to the sky, dropping it down, palm facing the back. If you are using a strap, holding the strap with that right arm and tucking the left arm back to meet the right. If you are unable to grasp the hands together, then Using a strap, a belt, or a scarf can be really beneficial to help make that contact and bring that stretch into the shoulders. So this is really good for relieving tension in the shoulders and in the neck and really loosening up those muscles. If this is too intense for you, even with a strap, you can simply bring the arms crossed in front of the body like this. Wherever you're at, kind of sinking into that pose and seeing if there isn't some area that you can just release and settle in. On your next exhale, unraveling the legs, letting go of the arms, and coming into a cross-legged position. Just giving the legs a moment to release here before we come into the other side. Maybe rolling the shoulders back, whatever feels good for you. Coming into the other side, so left leg and knee over right leg and knee. Whether you're using a strap or able to clasp your hands together, bringing that left arm up to the sky, dropping it down below the head, reaching back with the right arm to either grasp the hand or the prop that you're using. Again, if this side is too intense, bringing those arms out in front into a crossed hug position. And wherever you're at, releasing where you can and settling into this pose. And on your next exhale, letting it go, letting the arms go, unraveling the legs, and moving the body, the legs, the arms, the shoulders, however feels good for you to release that posture. If you were using a strap or a prop, moving that off to the side, out of your way. Moving now into shoulder pose. So coming onto the back, starting in Shavasana, bringing the soles of the feet to the mat. You should be able to touch the heel with your fingers. That's how you should know that the feet are a good distance away from the buttocks. Now in shoulder pose, we are going to be lifting the hips up to the sky and staying there for a moment. So whenever you're ready, bringing the hips up to the sky, tucking the neck slightly, or tucking the chin slightly to protect the neck. Shoulder pose realigns the spine and helps support with rounded shoulders. So if you notice that your shoulders often round outward or inward, this is really helpful for that. Staying here for a moment longer and gently bringing the hips down to the mat. We'll do that 2 more times. As you exhale, bringing the hips up to the sky, making sure that chin is tucked in slightly. And bringing the hips back down to the mat. Exhale the hips up to the sky. And bringing the hips back down to the mat. Bringing the knees in if that feels comfortable for you. Giving the body a little rock side to side, massaging that sacrum, perhaps moving the knees clockwise and counterclockwise to give that sacrum a nice little massage. Wherever you're at, bringing the feet back down to the mat and coming up into a seated position. Next, we'll be coming into butterfly. So for butterfly, starting with the legs crossed, bringing the feet together in front of the body, and bringing the feet into the inner thigh area as much as feels comfortable. There should be a nice little stretch on the inner thigh, but nothing that feels too uncomfortable or hurtful. Now, you're welcome to stay here in stationary butterfly, grasping the feet with the hands, lengthening the spine, or you can start to move the legs up and down. So with butterfly pose, whether stationary or moving the legs up and down, this pose is really helpful for releasing tension within the inner thighs, supporting the opening of our hips. Staying here for a few moments, whether that is stationary or moving the legs up and down. And wherever you are, releasing that and letting it go, bringing the legs out in front, whatever feels comfortable for you. Maybe moving side to side, taking any movements here that feel good for the body. Before moving into our final pose, pigeon. So pigeon can be really helpful also with a prop, with a bolster. If you do not have a bolster, what can be really helpful are a couple towels rolled up. If you have a large beach towel, that's really helpful. So we'll begin by coming into tabletop, taking a moment to ground down here before we move into pigeon. Making sure the hands are firmly grounded on the mat. And from tabletop, bringing the left knee up towards the left hand and bringing that foot across the mat. We don't want the shin to be parallel to the mat. We do want it on an angle. However, the foot should not be in the middle of the hands, but rather closer to the right hand. And bringing the hips down towards the mat. Now you can stay here with the hands planted on the mat if this feels good for you. Or you can bring it down onto the mat on your forearms. Or you can bring it all the way down, bringing the chest to the mat, head on the floor. Alternatively, this is where you could utilize a bolster or a rolled up towel, bringing the body and draping it over that bolster for a really restorative making sure that right hip is not sinking over to the side. If you find that it is, you can ease up on the posture if you find that you're laying down, coming back up to the hands on the mat. Or you can always prop a block or a hand towel underneath that right hip. You should be feeling the stretch in the left hip area. Pigeon helps to open up the hips by really stretching out and massaging the pelvis muscles. Wherever you are, taking a moment to prepare yourself for coming back into table. So coming onto the hands, supporting the upper body, curling the right toes so that the knee can come up off of the mat and placing it down, making sure that knee and the toes of the right leg are firmly planted on the ground, supporting the body with the hands and bringing that left leg back on the mat into tabletop. Taking any movements here, moving the hips, taking a couple cat-cows if that feels good for you. Coming back into a neutral spine and completing that pose on the other side. So in table, bringing the right knee to the right hand, foot comes across the mat towards the left hand, letting the hips sink down towards the mat, making sure that the left hip is not sinking over, that you are propped up nicely to really get that stretch in the right hip area, the right pelvis, to really open up that hip. Whatever feels comfortable for you, staying here supported on the hands, coming down onto the elbows, bringing the whole upper body to the mat with the head, the forehead on the floor, or using a prop to drape yourself over for a really passive experience. Really enjoying that stretch through the left hip, through those right pelvic muscles. With the next inhale, if you're not there already, bringing the hands to the mat, curling those left toes under, making sure the toes and the knee is firmly planted on the mat as well as the hands, and bringing that right knee back onto the mat for table. Taking a couple cat-cows if that feels comfortable for you, before making your way into seated. Pulling the flesh out from under the sits bones and relaxing after that practice. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.